So manifestation, it's kind of everywhere these days, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You hear about it constantly.
Yeah, like setting these huge goals, visualizing everything perfectly.
Doing the affirmations,
Hmm.
believing in that cosmic connection. Roxy Nafusi, for instance, talks a lot about this framework.
Exactly. And it's really appealing, this idea that you can sort of, will things into being.
It definitely taps into that deep human desire for control, for shaping our own destiny. It makes sense why it resonates.
And it's a big but, the science.
Well, yeah, when you actually dig into the empirical research, the experimental studies,
Hmm.
there's quite a bit of skepticism,
Right. The scientific community often views the popular version of manifestation as maybe wishful thinking more than a reliable method.
which is precisely why we're doing this deep dive today.
Yeah, we want to unpack it, not to just debunk it, but to figure out what's really going on.
To dissect the different components,
Yeah.
the goal setting, the visualizing,
The affirmations
that whole
or.
cosmic piece,
Hmm.
and see which parts actually hold up under scrutiny. Exactly. What's backed by science? And more importantly, how can you use those evidence-based bits effectively?
Forget the flashy label for a minute. Let's find out what actually works for achieving things.
Okay, so we've got those 4 pillars, essentially. Goal setting, visualization, daily affirmations, and that cosmic connection idea. We'll look at each one through a scientific lens.
Perfect. Let's start with goal setting. Seems straightforward, right? Defining your future path.
It does, but there's nuance. Like, there was that research by Swan and
Oh,
colleagues.
yeah, from 2020 about specific versus open goals.
That's the one. They looked at the difference between, say, a really specific goal like lose exactly 20 pounds.
Versus something broader like I want to feel healthier.
And what they found was pretty interesting. Those super specific goals, they only really work about half the time.
Only half. Why is that?
Well, if you get too fixated on that exact number, that specific outcome, and you don't hit it, it can be really demotivating. You feel like you failed.
Ah, okay. So the open goals are better then.
They offer flexibility, which is good, but sometimes they can be, a bit too vague, lack direction.
So it's about finding a balance and really understanding why you want the goal.
Precisely. The sources we looked at really emphasized making sure the goal is personally meaningful, like deeply relevant to you now and also down the line.
It makes me think of those stories you hear, people having breakthroughs after realizing their current path just wasn't it.
Exactly. That realization, that pivot that is goal setting, even if they call it manifestation, it's about redirecting based on what truly matters.
It's about aligning your actions with that future vision.
Absolutely. And the scientific advice, aim high. Seriously, don't be afraid of ambitious goals, but really think about how they fit into your long-term life story.
Okay, so aim high, know your why. Got it.
Next up, visualization, the mental movie part.
Right. This is probably what most people think of first with manifestation. Picturing that perfect outcome.
But just picturing it, is that enough?
Science seems a bit skeptical here too.
Yeah, on its own, the effectiveness of just visualizing is actually pretty weak, according to research. It doesn't seem to move the needle much.
So what does work?
Well, psychology points towards something called multisensory imagery. It's a step beyond simple visualization.
Multisensory, like using more than just sight.
Exactly. Engaging potentially all 7 senses, what you hear, taste, smell, touch, the feeling of movement, the emotions involved, and the visual component.
Wow, okay. 7 senses. Does that actually make a difference?
A huge difference, apparently. The data suggests multisensory imagery can be up to 5 times more effective than just thinking about the goal.
5 times, that's significant.
It really is. Dr. Colleen Hacker, who works a lot with elite athletes.
Oh, the sports psychologist.
Yeah. She recommends activating at least 3 senses when you're doing this kind of mental work for big goals. And she particularly emphasizes feeling the emotions and the sensation of action within that imagined scene.
Making it feel real, basically.
Hmm.
Immersive.
Totally. Making it believable to your brain. Of course, it's worth remembering people experience imagery differently. You got things like aphantasia.
Where people struggle to visualize it all.
Right. And synesthesia, where senses get kind of mixed up. It highlights how varied our internal worlds are.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, let's talk affirmations. Daily positive statements.
Yep. Writing them down, saying them out loud,
Yep.
scripting. They're a big part of the popular manifestation toolkit.
And is there science behind these?
Actually, yes. There's some pretty solid evidence here. A large U.S. survey found a clear link between using positive affirmations regularly and feeling happier, more hopeful. better overall well-being.
Okay, that's encouraging.
And it gets better when you connect those affirmations to goals that genuinely reflect your core values.
It boosts things like self-esteem.
Self-esteem, sense of purpose, meaning even how much you appreciate others. Connect the positivity to something deeper.
What about the timing? Is it all about the morning ritual?
That's the common advice, yeah.
Hmm.
But some research by Seaman and colleagues in 2021 had a slightly different take.
Oh, what did they find?
They noticed affirmations often happen more spontaneously, almost like a subconscious reaction when a negative thought pops up.
Yeah.
Kind of like an internal course correction.
Interesting. So not just scheduled positivity, but reactive too.
Exactly. And if you look at behavior change research, a really powerful technique is to tie the affirmation to something you already do every day.
Like making coffee.
Perfect example. Link the affirmation to that existing cue. It helps build it into a solid routine.
Makes sense. And these things don't exist in a vacuum, right? Affirmations, imagery, goals.
Not at all. They really intertwine. The affirmations reinforce the imagery makes the goal feel more real. It creates this kind of compound effect. It shapes your thinking, which then shapes your actions.
Okay, which brings us to the final pillar, that cosmic connection, the law of attraction.
Ah, yes, the secret effect. The idea that positive energy attracts positive universal responses.
The big one.
Yeah.
And the science says.
The science says there's no evidence, plain and simple, no credible scientific backing for a cosmic force responding to thoughts like that.
Right. So is that part just bunk?
From a strict scientific standpoint, yeah, the universe providing idea doesn't hold water. However,
There's a however.
well, if you look past the mystical language, some manifestation gurus are essentially talking about something more practical,
Like what?
like creating your own learning opportunities, being open to talking to people who think like you, basically just noticing and seizing possibilities that align with your goals.
So it's less about the cosmos and more about your own mindset and awareness, being proactive.
Exactly. It's about being receptive, maybe seeing connections you wouldn't have otherwise. But the key, which our sources really stressed, is the active effort,
The actual work.
the actual work. That's what fundamentally changes your beliefs about what you can do. Pushing yourself, taking action.
Yeah.
That's where the real transformation in attitude happens.
It's about participation, investing in that growth mindset, not just passively waiting.
Precisely. It's about agency. Your actions matter most.
Okay, so putting this all together, what are the practical science-backed steps someone can take if they want to ditch the woo-woo and just achieve stuff?
Good question. Based on everything we've looked at, 3 key takeaways really stand out from the research.
Lay it on us.
Okay, first, write down one goal, just one specific thing you want to achieve, and really dig into why it matters to you personally, now, and for your future. That focus really ups your chances. Call it a one-point goal.
One goal, deeply understood. Got it. What's second?
Second, use that multisensory imagery actively. Don't just picture the win, reflect on the goal, sure, but also imagine the bumps in the road, the challenges, and mentally maybe even write down a plan for how you'll handle them.
So visualize the process, including the obstacles, not just the perfect outcome.
Exactly. Make it a full, sense-rich rehearsal. It prepares you.
Makes sense. And the third takeaway.
Third, spend just about a minute each morning doing 3 things. Briefly imagine the goal, maybe journal a couple of your strengths related to it, and list your main intentions for that specific day.
Just a minute.
Just about a minute.
Hmm.
It's about building a consistent, positive habit loop, priming your brain daily. It cultivates that proactive mindset we talked about.
Right. So single focus goal, multisensory process visualization, and a quick daily priming routine.
That's the science-backed core. Look, the popular idea of manifestation has this undeniable allure, this magic feeling.
But understanding the psychology behind what actually works, that gives you a reliable roadmap.
It really does. It's empowering because it puts the focus on your actions, your mindset, your growth. It's about actively turning what if into what is.
Fantastic summary. So a final thought maybe for everyone listening.
Yeah.
How might intentionally using that multisensory imagery change the game for your goals? How could engaging more senses shift your perspective and maybe even your drive?
Something definitely worth exploring. It's
Yeah.
a powerful technique.
Click like and subscribe to the Unlock Your Mind channel.